Hi everybody. I have been asked how I did my art journaling page from the other night, and I'm going to go ahead and show you that. It's going to be fairly basic, so just follow along, and then if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them at the end. This is the page that I did. I'm kind of making my own little art journal as I go, and what I did was I bought a paper pad. This is Bristol Smooth, and I cut it in half. This is 11 inches by 14, so it gives me an 11 inch by 7 inch journal piece. So I thought that was kind of cool. And then I used my We Are Memory Keepers punch to create the holes for these little things. And then these you can buy by the pack just to make your own little thing. And they come in different sizes. You can get them like in the bigger ones too. But I thought the little one just to start with, so that I could just start doing a little journal, would be great. So anyways, so this is what I'm going to be doing. Put that there. The stamps that I use, this is a stamp set that I got off of just some random site. I think it was like wish.com or something like that. And you can see, I don't know if that even worked it. Here, let's put it on the white. See it better. It's got two brick patterns here, but I use this one that has like the cracked through look. So it's a really flimsy acrylic. It's not like one of the best acrylics out there. So I'm sure it's a copy off of somebody else's stamp sets, but I don't know who did it. This one is one of Diane's stamps. It has, it was from her rubber set collection that they condensed into a 4-pack into the acrylic. And this is the one that I'm using, is the letters. I'm using that as kind of like my graffiti look. And then I had her arrow set. There is a red rubber set that this is a part of, but I have the smaller acrylic version. Okay, and to do the words and everything else, I used her small acrylic set of her lettering. The stencil that I used, this is the Tim Holtz one. It's the big tag, the THS038 one. It's the brick. There is another one that's like this that has, it's split. It's between a brick and then it has another type of wall type design. That one has the same brick pattern. It's just smaller. It'll work. You could very well use the Dylusions border stamp stencil set. The only reason why I didn't use this one is because the bricks on this one are perfectly square, whereas the ones on this one look really jagged, and this matched my stamp set a lot better. So that's why I used that. But you could very easily use this one if you don't have this one. Okay, so normally I am very, I don't know, I'm not as skilled when it comes to blending paints. So I've been really playing around trying to get that look that I want, to where the ink is very blended together, and I think I've come up with a pretty decent solution to that, combining one or two of Diane's techniques, and one of them is using the Tim Holtz daubers, and then one uses baby wipes. So I'm kind of combining the two. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use the baby wipe to get the background, because what that's going to do is that's going to actually wet the paper, and it's going to get the paint on there wet, so it's going to take a little bit more time to dry, which is going to give you better time and better chance and opportunity to blend. Okay, and I'm going to do the red, postbox red first. The colors that I used were postbox red, melted chocolate, and pomegranate seed. Typically, I am really afraid of these colors because the pomegranate seed and the chocolate are very dark, and I don't tend to do very well with dark colors, so I tend to stay away from them. But I guess I was just kind of really in that mood and they worked out really well for my dark little mood. And because I knew I wanted to do a brick look, I figured they would be the colors to go to for this type of set. Okay, and all I'm doing right now is I'm just putting paint on my paper with the baby wipe so that it's wet and it kind of stays wet and it blends out really well. It doesn't have to be perfect at this stage because you really want that varied look. You don't want to make sure it's like totally solid, but I do want to make sure it's wet. So I'm just kind of going over it a little bit, making sure that it's damp. Okay, so that's the good look that I want there. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to come in with my post box. You can do this two ways. You can stamp the areas of the brick that you want first to get like the solid red, and then just stay away from it when you're blending, or you can go ahead and blend it down now. Oh, I got this one a little juicy, but that's okay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and then I'm just going to hit this area here, and then right where it's blending in, just hit it with my fingers. If you want to too, you can go back in with your wet wipe and you can kind of blend in a little bit more, and you'll see that that really softens that look and blends it out much better. When it's wet, it's a great opportunity to get in and use the wet wipe to really blend in those colors and edges. Okay, and then I just hit a couple of different areas, trying to, you know, just get that look, just like that. I tend to work in kind of groupings and patterns of 3. Get out this way a little bit more. There we go. Alright, you can keep going over this and going back and then going over it and then going back as many times as you want to build up the layers and to build up the coloration that you want. It depends on how strong you want your colors to come out. Okay, I know I'm going to go back over the colors with this in just a second, so this is enough for right now. I'm going to clean this up just a little bit and get it on my little wet wipe. There we go. The brown, believe it or not, I did use in some of the accents, but it's going to serve another purpose here in just a second. It's going to be my little accent color, but I'm going to go ahead and prime my little dauber so that I can get some good color there. Okay, so now I'm going to come in, oops, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp first. I know normally you want to do the backgrounds, but in this instance, because I didn't want the brick from this behind my stamp, I stamped first. And just make sure my bricks are straight. I messed up a little bit on that, and I'm just going to turn the stamp upside down every now and then. A little bit off the page. So that's what I've done there, and that's all I'm going to do with that stamp. What you can do, and the way that I got some of the other cracks, was I went ahead and took the stamp off, and then I used just the little tendrils, and then just stamped those by themselves. And that gave me some of the cracked looks elsewhere, and then you just keep adding those cracks. Just like that. And you can make the cracks bigger by connecting 2 or more of these, like so. Okay? And it's the same thing when I did when I added the lettering here and I put the white on, I did that same technique and then just created more cracks wherever that went. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that chocolate brown that I had, and I'm going to go in and I'm just going to hit, believe it or not, around the edges of where that brick was. Okay, and then take my baby wipe again and blend that out. Take that in. Get in there. Blend it out. Okay, it's going to look a little bit dark at first, which is fine, because I'm going to come back in with that or the pomegranate. I'm going to really darken it up. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, the pomegranate still has a nice amount of juice to it. So here I come in and I'm going to blend it. It doesn't have a lot of paint to it. It just has a little tiny bit. So it's blending in really nicely. And then if it comes down too much, you can always go in and blend it. The whole point of this is to not be specific, to be pretty random. And that's it. That's really all that I did. Get it into the areas and darken it out a little bit more. Okay, just like that. The lighter touch you have, and you don't push down as hard with this, then the lighter your areas will be, and it won't be streaked. At least that's what I found. It seems to work fairly well for me. Just kind of pouncing. And that's it. And then I'm going to go ahead and put some more pomegranate on my dauber so that I can do the backgrounds. That's a little bit much. Okay, so make sure my brick comes through fairly well. Dun, 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 dun. There it is. I was like, where did I put it? Okay, and the only thing I'm going to try and be careful of is I'm not going to go over where the brick already exists in that cracked look. And then I'm just going to kind of go back and forth. Doesn't have to be too heavy, because you just want to get that little bit of a fade look to it. Okay, adding in. You don't want to get a heavy brick look. And then move the stencil over. I kind of tried to make sure that, you know, if I had a brick or something like that that was at the end of something, that I continued it. But, you know, if I didn't get it perfect, I didn't get it perfect. I wasn't going to worry too much about it, because it's going to all blend in the end. Okay, there's a brick there, so let's do that. And again, too, if you want to go a little heavier and get your bricks a little bit more on there, you are welcome to do so. It's your project. You can do whatever you like with it. Now I'm just going fairly gentle. And if you'll notice, too, I'm going side to side. I'm not going up and down this way. And that's because if I do get any kind of line or texture from the brick, I want it to be left to right texture. I don't want it to be up and down. So that's why I'm doing it that way, if you're curious. Okay. Again, staying away from those areas. And that's it. And that's how I got that brick look. I'm going to go ahead and take my wet wipe and clean this off really quickly. This red does like to stain templates, I will say that. So be prepared. Normally I would have put something underneath here to pick that up, but for all intents and purposes, I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Alrighty, I'm going to leave that red because I'm going to do something else with it in a minute. Okay, so there's that look. And now I'm going to go ahead, and here's what I'm going to do with this one. I am just going to take this. I'm not going to put it on a block or anything. I'm just going to put it down in my ink it up. And I'm just going to kind of bend it a little bit so that I get little areas here and there. It doesn't have to be perfect. because it's graffiti, you know. Graffiti is just all mashed of anything and everything anyways, so. I'll just do that all over the page there. And there you have it. That's all I did. That's the background. Really simple, really easy, and just something you can do in, 10-20 minutes. If you want to go ahead and hit this with a heat gun, you can. But that's as simple as what it is. I hope you like it. Thanks so much. I loved all your comments.